All right, it's time for us to talk parenting, and to do justice to that with me is Modupe Eyinla. I got that. I'm very sure. Eyinla. Eyinla.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
Eyinla. Yes. That's a good future, bright future more like. She is the founder of iMom Zone, a platform for mothers which is focused specifically for first-time pregnant, new, and toddler moms. And so today we will be discussing the training or raising of a child. Which are you doing? Now, before you go, let me first welcome her. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's absolutely our pleasure. Now, for some people, they're like, training and raising a child. Now, that is like, it's one and the same. There's no difference. So what exactly is training a child and what is raising a child? So we can now define it.
Okay, so even the dictionary said training a child is to teach them skills, behaviors, maybe through instructions over a period of time. Raising, however, is to nurture, to care for, to make sure your child is eating, your child is loved. That's okay, that's fine. But some parents don't even know the difference between, they don't even know if they're doing both or they're just raising that child, making sure the child is fine, the child is okay, I don't need to do any other thing. But it's important that we instill values in our kids to, you know, avoid future deficiencies in them.
So that's actually a very great way to separate it.
Yes.
So how can we raise a child and how can we train a child? You know, there are two different things.
Yeah,
so let's talk first about how we can raise a child, and then we'll talk about how we can train a child.
In raising a child, it's really important that your kids know that they're loved, they're valued, they're important. You need to show them that they're an important part of the family.
Love, valued,
yes,
important.
Yes, important part of the family. And in training a child, you need to instill values in them. You need to teach them empathy. You need to teach them resilience, self-confidence, respect.
Self-control as
Self-control. It's really important because there are some kids, there's some parents that will never scream or hit their kids, but guess what? Some of these kids hit. There's some parents that would share, and some of these kids will not share, especially toddlers.
Yes, I agree.
They won't share. So it's important that you let them know why they need to share and why sharing is a good virtue or character to have. So that's where training comes in. You train by example as well. I mean, children see, children do, like I always say. So it's important that your kids, you instill good values in your kids.
Now, realistically, Modupe, these days, many parents are actually raising their children. They aren't doing that training part.
I agree.
And they feel, oh, it's always, you know, one and the same. There's no big deal. I'm doing the right thing. At least I'm raising my children. So for such situations, how can you create that balance? How can you be able to raise your child right and still be able to train the child without doing excess of either? It's
up to you. You know your kids. So it boils down to parenting styles. You have one, two, three kids, then you need to separate, okay, do I have to be an authoritarian with this one, or do I have to be permissive with this child? How do I go about it? It's important that you know the difference.
Knowing them.
Yes, knowing your kids true, and then applying the right parenting style to each of your kids and training them the right way. There's some kids that you don't even need to, you know, teach self-confidence. They're so confident that you'd be like, oh, this one is God-given confidence. So your work at that point is the shepherd, is to nurture, is to make sure to teach the right things.
So that self-confidence doesn't even turn to arrogance.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what you need to do at that point.
Okay. Now, I just want to paint a scenario where, you know, you're doing so well at training your child. You understand? You're instilling discipline, you're instilling values, you're ensuring the child has virtues and all. Is it possible while you're doing that to neglect raising that child right?
Yes, it's possible that you neglect the child by not showing love to that child. You're training the child and you're saying, oh, if you don't have to do this. You know, when you tell the child the reason why, that is you showing love. That is you raising the child. See, I did not just scold you. Here is the reason why.
So you scold, you train, then you now use the raising part.
Yeah, you have to show love, at the same time be firm. That is it. Be firm, train, show love, That's you raising your child.
You know, all this talk about parenting makes you feel like it's a full-time job, really.
It is a full-time job.
And so you ask yourself, with the way things are now, mom's working, dad's working, how can you even be able to run this through successfully and still be able to hold down your jobs and live your lives?
To be candid, parenting, you have to be intentional. It's being intentional. Parenting is, raising and training a child is like gardening. In gardening, you cannot just believe that after planting and watering, that's it. No. It's not just by giving them basic needs and saying, oh, don't do that. That's it. No. You need to have conversational relationship with your kids. Age-appropriate conversations. They're really, really important. Your child is 2. You are talking to your child like your child is 10. No. It's really important that we have conversation. At this age, conversational relationship is
very
the key.
important.
Very,
Yes.
very important.
Yeah. And you know, that brings me to another question. This age, so many things have changed. In our time, I feel old. it was a different dynamics, but things really have changed now.
Yeah.
Well, just as you've already advised us, I guess many parents should be able to apply these skills and still be able to create a balance as parents used to do
Being intentional.
back in the days.
Yes.
Being intentional, that's the key word. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you for
Modupe
having
Ayinla.
me.
We really enjoyed this conversation.